This week on The Agent Factory.
We're joined by someone who has had a unique front row seat to the generative AI revolution. Welcome to the podcast, Logan. It's great to have you here.
Yeah, I'm excited for this. Thank you both for having me.
Is there something that you've recently vibe coded that you're really excited about?
Yeah, I have a bunch of examples.
So we've been hearing about something exciting dropping.
The most exciting thing is the level of model and research innovation that's happening.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to The Agent Factory, the podcast that goes beyond the hype and dives into building production-ready AI agents. I'm Smita Kolan.
And I'm Molly Pettit. And today, we're joined by someone who has had a unique front row seat to the generative AI revolution. From leading developer relations at OpenAI during a period of explosive growth to now helping shape the future of the Gemini API at Google, Logan Kilpatrick is focused on enabling developers to build faster and better using AI. Welcome to the podcast, Logan. It's great to have you here.
Yeah, I'm excited for this. Thank you both for having me, and I'm excited to hopefully build some stuff with you both.
Yeah.
So great to have you here. Now, Logan, you recently tweeted, "I just want to vibe code AI apps." I think we should jump straight in. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm down. I have that feeling often. That I think because it's there's so much accessibility in that I'm like a prompt away from having something really cool at my fingertips. So yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah, how do you want to get started, Logan?
Yeah, maybe I'll just sort of context set for folks. So for folks who don't know, we're looking at Google AI Studio. We're looking at this brand new vibe coding experience that we just landed today, the time of this recording. And I'm super excited. The idea here is accelerate how quickly folks can build specifically AI powered apps. So you'll see this in this little tagline here, supercharge your apps with AI. So we have lots of different options here. I'll talk more in depth about everything. I think the best way to get started is you can click this "I'm feeling lucky" button and get an app. So I click this another tab, and this prompt that was suggested was create a virtual food photographer for restaurant owners. They upload their text-based menus. The app generates realistic high-end photography for each dish, including style toggles so the user can choose between rustic and dark, bright, modern, etc. And then it's powered by Nano Banana, which is our Gemini 2.5 Flash image model, and also our Imagine model. So let's kick this off and we'll build, and I'll sort of talk through other parts of the experience. But yeah, I think, the idea is get you closer to building an app as quickly as possible. This sort of experience you see on the right side is cycling through a bunch of suggestions about the experience. Right now, the model is planning on the left-hand side here. So it's actually thinking through, what do we actually need to make this app possible? And then you'll see through all the files that are being generated. You can actually go into the code, manually edit it if you want to, see what's possible. You can download your code. You can move it to GitHub. You can deploy it with Cloud Run. You can share it with people. You can switch to an API key. There's a million things to do. But the idea is hopefully in less than 60 seconds, we'll see what happens in this example. We'll actually have a fully running AI app. And now I'm realizing I don't actually have a text-based menu. So I might have to make one really quick, and I'll jump over maybe to a different tab and I'll go grab a text-based menu, or I'll just type one in live and we'll see what happens. We'll see what the model does with my off the top of my head restaurant menu. All right. We were talking about what I'm going to have for dinner.
Oh,
Pizza.
Yeah.
What did I have for breakfast? Blueberries. And I also had popcorn today. So this is going to perhaps be a weird menu. We'll see what happens. And I chose the rustic/dark vibe. So we'll see what our menu looks like. Okay, that pizza looks good, though I don't like black olives. We'll see about our blueberries and popcorn. Good blueberries, popcorn,
Nice.
lightly salted. It looks great. So really, I think the idea is just start to get you closer to that aha moment of what AI can actually do. And obviously, this is a pretty bare bones website. The fun part is you can sort of continue to do this iteratively. The prompt, again, that we started with was also pretty basic. So you can definitely put in some more complex stuff. And if you have more sort of opinionated style guidelines, this is sort of in the current form, this is abdicating a bunch of responsibility to the model to just sort of decide how it wants to design this website. And again, this is like perhaps not the most beautifully designed website right now. We also have a bunch of like AI suggested features, so we can enable image editing if I wanted to like take one of these images and continue. And maybe I can actually do that. Let's see. Add, what do people, butter
Caramel.
dropping onto the, yeah, it could be caramel as well, except I don't like caramel popcorn, so I'll selfishly do butter. And butter dropping onto the popcorn, and we'll see what happens. See if it applies the edit correctly. And my guess is it's using, without looking at the code, it's using Imagine, which is our image generation model, and then it's probably having Nano Banana do the actual edit, which is like really, really good for image editing. So it looks great, and really quickly is able to edit. So I think this could actually be super interesting. If I really did have a restaurant, I could imagine me using something like this to be able to put together. And again, you can keep editing this experience with a bunch of these AI suggestions, which add a bunch of stuff. And all the suggestions are like actually based on the code and what you're building, which is really cool. So they're like, should ideally be like pretty on task with what you're trying to build and not just like random off-base suggestions. So yeah, this is the 101, but I'd love to dive in different directions based on what y'all's reaction is to this.
Yeah. Well, first of all, that was
This is
crazy
huge.
fast.
Yeah, and super fast, huge for like AI developers just to get quickly started. I also noticed that there's something called checkpoints right there. So what does that do?
Yeah. So here, if we were to continue to do multi-turn in this conversation, you can actually like see the code diffs. You can see what's changing on a sort of conversation turn by conversation turn basis. This is really helpful to just start to build a mental model of like, again, how the code is changing. One of the things that I love the most is, let's say, actually, I'll do one of these edits and I'll say, make the design of this feel more like I am a restaurant, which I can never spell the word restaurant, I apologize, owner, and less like I am an AI SaaS product creator, which I feel like this website is like very doesn't look like a restaurant owner would be using this on a regular basis. So we'll redo this, but as you see, like we'll look at the checkpoints and you'll be able to see the different changes that have happened. But also as it makes edits, you can do something which I really appreciate, which is instead of looking at like all of the code diffs, you can just hover over each file that's changed or been created, and it'll give you summarized by 2.5 flashlight, just like a description of what's actually happening in this file. So like I don't have to go into image editing modal.tsx. The file is creating a modal component for editing an image with a text prompt. So like, great, I don't need to go in that because I'm not really looking for what's happening in that file. So I really like this feature of just like, again, for the vibe coding audience, people who are perhaps like new to coding or more new to coding, or just don't want to have to look at code right now for whatever reason. You don't have to go in and like actually make code edits. But again, I can see what is it changing, updating the HTML. Let's import new Google Fonts libraries and set a new warmer background color. Awesome. Nice. Like I didn't even have to go and read the code diff, which is really helpful.
My understanding is also like, so if you get to a point where you want to deploy it, my understanding is there's a very easy way to do that through here as well, right?
Yeah, 100%. So I'll make the caveat that this is running on my work account right now. So I'm going to click the deploy button. I don't know what it's going to show. So let's see what it shows. Oh, perfect. Nothing horrible. So this, yeah, then you can just go in and select your cloud project. This does require a paid API key right now. So by default, most of this experience is free, which is really exciting. So you can like do a lot of stuff.
Mhm.
When you want to deploy to Cloud Run, it does require you have a billing account set up. And there's certain models and features that also require a billing account to be set up. Like if you want to use VO 3.1, for example. So you can select your cloud project, literally then one click deploy, and your app can be shared with anyone. You can go and customize the URL, do all that type of stuff, which is awesome.
Yeah, that's very cool. Is there something that you've recently vibe coded that you're really excited about?
Yeah, I have a bunch of examples. I'm just showing this one with Nano Banana that Amar on my team created because I love it and it's gone viral so many times over. But I love this. This is a picture of Jeff Dean, who's our chief scientist at Google and DeepMind, and this is using Nano Banana to sort of visualize yourself throughout the decades, and you can see what Jeff might have looked like. Um, Throughout different times, 1950s, 1970s. So this has been going very viral. I feel like Jeff in the 80s looks good. He should update his MoMA picture to be that. So lots of cool stuff. I spend a bunch of time like looking at our actually this was another good example that I'll sort of showcase really quick, which is we shipped earlier this week this new grounding with Google Maps feature, which allows you to connect the Gemini models directly to Google Maps and like pull in a bunch of this interesting like place data without having to like set up an additional API. So I'll showcase this example, and then I'm happy to show other stuff that I'm excited about as well. There's too much cool stuff. But let's see if this works. I'll refresh it because half the screen is not loading. I wonder why. Interesting. Guess the beauty is we do
Hi
it
there.
anyway.
I'm a demo agent powered by Grounding with Google Maps.
Awesome. I want to see cool Italian restaurants in Chicago, maybe that I haven't been to before. Nice. I really like, I've been to Pizza Portofino before. Can you tell me about the location? What's happening in that area?
I'll use Grounding with Google Maps for that request. Pizzeria Portofino is located in the River North neighborhood of Chicago. It's known for its chic Italian eatery style with the river.
The riverfront terrace is the best part of Pizza Portofino if anyone ever goes. But what I love about this is, again, this is like a pretty simple API connection behind the scenes using grounding with Google Maps. And you can create this dynamic experience. It actually also like returns a like an embeddable maps component. So if you were to like recreate this UI yourself, you don't need to like try to figure out how to make the maps UI fit. Like that literally just like gives you that component back, which is really cool. And because we're with all these, this is one of like the starter template apps inside of AI Studio. With all these apps, you can like just continue to go and iterate and vibe code. So if I wanted to add additional features or figure out why the background is oddly black and not sort of rendering the map behind it, I could go and do that and sort of ask for changes, which is really cool. So it really brings like all these new API features, all these new model capabilities to life in this experience.
I feel like a lot of developers have been waiting for grounding with maps, especially after grounding with search. It almost feels like, the missing layer between agentic AI and like, straight off right to the streets that's where you can connect with maps. So I feel like a lot of developers can use this to build with, like using place data to route to places or even checking hours of when things are open on Google Maps.
I was surprised. The reception online has been exceptionally positive about this new grounding with maps feature, which it was not. Maybe I underestimated how useful it is to people to be able to do this like really easily and have the model do a lot of the heavy lifting. But yeah, I'm super excited. I feel like developers, I saw a bunch of comments of people being like, oh, this is like unlocking this key use case for my startup. And like, I couldn't build this thing before. And like, now it just sort of like works out of the box, which is that's like that's the best thing to hear from folks.
That's very cool. I have a question about, so when you were giving that initial prompt, you said maybe ones I haven't been to before. So is it like connected also to your specific Google Maps so it might know like if you've been to a place?
It's not, but I'm trying to ask the representative questions of what I think people would really want. I think by default right now it is sort of the MVP of this. And I was doing another demo of this feature and I was asking like, can you make reservations and things like that? That's not possible like out of the box, but I think those are the types of things that like, the interesting stuff that you could build as the developer and like make the experience richer and more interesting. So both of those, like I would love to be able to like get a tour of a city. I'm going to Italy in a few weeks, and like I would love to be able to do a tour of Italy and sort of see different places and make reservations all in this like interactive experience. That would be awesome. So hopefully somebody builds that, and I'll be the first customer.
Very
That's a
cool.
ton of startup ideas right there.
Yeah,
Yeah, I have some trips coming up as well. I'm going to be utilizing this for that.
I'm excited. And maybe we'll all build it together. That could be fun. This was another really quick thing. This gallery experience. If folks want sort of inspiration of what's possible, I think we also, in addition to I'm feeling lucky, we're like trying to solve this blank slate problem for people to think about what they could possibly build. So we've broken down the sort of top level filtering by different model capabilities and things like that. But there's like lots of really cool interactive examples of being able to show what the models are capable of. So you can again go in and remix any of these experiences that you want. And it tends to be like very visual forward, but there's also lots of odd stuff that I don't, maybe not odd, but like lots of cool stuff that I don't think people actually know we have. Like this prompt DJ1 is using our Lyria real-time music model. So we can like actually make music live. I don't know if this is of interest to folks, but I'll try to turn, I don't know if I could turn the volume down, but I'm going to change this to lo-fi. And then we'll play it. Hopefully it works and it's not too loud. So if you go do it yourself inside of AI Studio, you can try out this real-time music model, and it just like keeps producing like net new novel music, but mostly like the beats of novel music in real time, which is really, really cool. And I'll show just one other example that I love in the gallery. This vibe check one is super fun. This is let me see if I can get a couple of examples. The idea is like, I think people like test the models in lots of really interesting ways. And I think one of the like most common ways that people are now testing the models is like this visual approach where you can look at all of our different models. And in this case, it's just using 2.5 Flash, but you can see like different generations, all visual first. And this is this like famous Pelican task that Simon Williamson has come up with, which is awesome. But like you can just see like, the model's a little, doesn't actually get it perfectly right. And then when a new model comes, you can sort of test out the pro version of, the pond. Let's see what this one does. It might take a longer time with 2.5 Pro. But it's a fun way to like visually test how good the models are. And I've actually seen like startups sort of abstract their use case to this like visual representation, and then you can like really quickly through this, like this is a side tangent, but like making evals for your products is oftentimes very difficult, and it's a cool way if you can like find a visual representation to like very quickly grok is the model good for what use case you're trying to do. So this is a fun one to see a pond and the little drops of
Like
water
if there's like
everywhere.
raining. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
This is so cool to see. So kind of like how a lot of people would maybe use like summarization outputs as how well models are performing, but people are now using visual representations of it. That's really cool.
I think from a human, like this actually leans really heavily into this like human story as like us in the driver's seat of using AI. Like biologically, it's like something like I think like 50% of the neurons in your brains are dedicated to like your visual cortex or something like that. Don't quote me, I'm not a scientist. But my understanding is like your brain is like very heavily set up to do like visual understanding, which is why it's so quick for us to like do this like visual vibe check. Do I like this output? Do I not? And so I've seen it's just like it really helps people from this like speed of iteration of like how quickly can I tell whether or not my use case is working versus like evals are often very complicated and nuanced. So if you can get to a visual representation, it can make things a lot faster, which is cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
The only other thing to show is like if you wanted, like I don't know if y'all have ideas of things that you want to build, but we can try building it live and see if we get anything interesting. You can just click on any of these, and then we can put together, something that uses Google Maps data with.
Trying to think if there's something that could be like kind of a practical dev use case or something.
Maybe
Yeah.
like chatting with your PDFs.
Chat with your PDFs is a
Yeah.
very good one. I want as an aside, I really want this live like voice interactive experience as like a pair programmer in my IDE. I've thought about this for a long time. It'd be really cool. So this is my second pitch for startup ideas. I think there's just something really interesting about that. So like, you sort of, for folks who have been professional developers, like you oftentimes have like a colleague that like will literally look over your shoulder and help you solve some problem. And I think we have this sort of equivalent of that with AI now, where you can like talk to the model and have it sort of coach you over your shoulder, which is really interesting. But chat with a PDF is a little bit easier of a use case. But we could do this conversational voice app if we wanted as well, which is cool.
Yeah.
Sure, I'm down.
Let's try it. I'll see how. I'm going to use my favorite speech to text option, which we jokingly internally call this Yap to App, where you can just talk to the model and it'll go and make this app for you. So I'll pontificate a bunch of random stuff to see how we can make this use case. Because ideally, what you want is like an IDE extension, I think, for this experience we just described. But I'll try to come up with something that's like somewhat representative of what developers are going to do. Let's try it. All right, I want to build a app where I can type in a bunch of code and actually maybe even render HTML code. I want to be able to type it in. I want the AI model to be able to generate it. And then I want to have the live API actually coach me through what's happening, sort of like an awesome, senior developer, pair programmer looking over my shoulder and help me make use of this code and understand it and tweak it and make any improvements, but really just be like a sort of helpful, supportive person as I work through the HTML code. So it takes in the raw random yapping and it removes all my hopefully pontificating and turns it into something that is more useful. So I'm not even going to read this, and I'm just going to assume that it captured it well, and then we'll go and kick off actually creating this experience. And I'm curious if it works, because I think I've had a lot of conviction in this idea for a while, and hopefully it's helpful.
Trying it out live. Yeah.
Is that a hashtag yet? Yap to app? I feel like that should be a hashtag on X.
Yeah. I looked up Yap to app. Somebody already owned the domain. I was like, darn, people are so creative. They're way ahead of me, unfortunately. All right, we got 2 errors. So this is one of the nice things is on the left-hand side, the self-correcting error loop. So ideally, hopefully it sort of finds the things that aren't working, just like runtime errors, and then fixes them in real time. So hopefully we'll get that in this context. Sometimes it requires more. Like this really is like a one-shot error correction. So it doesn't capture everything all the time, but in many cases it like moves the needle significantly if there's any low-hanging fruit bugs that need to be fixed. I'll also note that like the live APIs like generally require sort of more effort to build with. If you want to like build voice agents and sort of this real-time interactive experience, there's just like a lot more logic that's involved, because you're passing audio and video potentially in real time and all this. You need a backend infrastructure, et cetera. So the success rate is slightly lower. But yeah, it's something that we're working super hard on to try to make it so that you can just make these magic experiences out of the box. But let's see if we fix these errors after 62 seconds of thinking deeply.
Yeah, I love that it's doing those, like double checking itself.
It's nice. I mean, it saves me the trouble of doing it as a developer, which is really nice.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, so we finished actually making this work. The model self-corrected a couple of errors, and I think the magic now is we can actually hopefully just talk to the model and get it to sort of coach us on this. The sort of formatting of this is a little wonky right now, which we could fix. But it generated this like very basic HTML structure with an H1, a bunch of p tags, and a button. And then now I can go in and talk to the model and sort of have it coach us about making this HTML better. So let's see what the model says. Hey, how's it going? I just wrote this HTML code. Any suggestions of what I should be doing to make it better?
It looks like you've got a nice simple card component, For improvement, you could consider using more semantic HTML elements. For example, the main container div could be a main tag.
Interesting. Okay, cool. Can you write some of that code for me?
Sure. Here's the code with the main div changed to a main tag. Main class equals font
Actually, I
sans
don't want you to read it
background
out to
gray
me.
100.
Yeah, sorry, I don't want you to read it out to me. That would be pretty annoying. But I do appreciate the suggestion that I should make a main tag. And yeah, I think this idea has legs. So um, I think it's an interesting example of like you can start to blend these experiences. And again, I think my premise is um, this is definitely like the MVP of getting this to work. So like you sort of zero shot the infrastructure. You need to go in and tweak a bunch because it's not perfect. Like for example, I want the model to be able to perhaps use a tool call to be able to like directly modify that code instead of speaking the HTML to me, which would be quite annoying. So lots of cool things to be built in this.
I wish this was directly available in Visual Studio Code. That would be so helpful. And so that is startup idea number 3, I think, for this
Yeah.
segment.
I love it. Lots of great ideas.
Yeah.
Yeah, other things y'all want to look at. Otherwise, I feel like this has hopefully been a helpful whirlwind tour of what folks can do in AI Studio with the new vibe coding experience.
This is awesome.
Yeah. Now it's time for the Agent Industry Pulse, where we chat about some of the recent developments in the world of agents. Smita, do you want to kick us off?
We've had such exciting launches recently, so let's start off with Veo 3.1. So Veo 3.1 is the new state-of-the-art video generation model that builds on Veo 3. It also ranks number 1 in both text to video and image to video on LM Arena already, so that's huge. With Veo 3.1, you get richer native audio, so from conversations to sound effects. You also get to define first and last frames of a video and generate transitions along with many, many more updates. So essentially, it allows you to maintain context if you want to generate multiple clips of the same character, for example. Here's a really quick applet that I built in AI Studio using Veo 3.1, which generates a video of me in my future career in AI. So to start off, I'm in Google AI Studio, specifically within Build. And here you can describe any idea of an app that you would like to build out, especially one which is using something like Veo 3.1, which is exactly what we'll be doing here. I've already created a prompt to generate my application. So all I'm going to do is paste it here. And my prompt essentially states the name of the app, which is Future Me, and the goal, which is a fun meme-style AI app that predicts your future tech occupation and generates an 8-second day-in-the-life vlog-based video based on your selfie. So once we have our prompt ready, I'm going to click Build. And once we do that, we enter this section where you get to see the preview of your app as well as the code which is being generated. You also get to see all the steps that Gemini 2.5 Pro is doing, such as, building the foundation, building different components of your app. So here's the app that AI Studio generated for us based on the prompt I gave it. And now let's start our journey and generate my surprise future. So that's my future role in AI. And this is the video that Veo 3.1 generated. Everyone's a node, even me. To try this out for yourself, you can head on to Google AI Studio and start building.
Very cool, Smita. Thank you for sharing that. How long did it take you to put that together?
So this took about 15 minutes or so to put together because I actually really like tinkering with the UI, but it's definitely something that you can one-shot.
That's so fun. In other news, Anthropic just launched Skills. When I checked this out, it kind of reminded me of Gemini gems. And when I dug deeper, I found the key difference is the approach. A gem is like creating a custom persona, like a career coach expert, whereas a skill is more like giving Claude a specific tool, like an Excel script that it can then decide to use on its own.
That sounds like a great way to supercharge your agent. We'd love to get you in on this too, Logan. So what are some of the launches you're most excited about at Google?
Yeah, well, 3.1 was awesome. So I feel like that was a great launch, and the reception seems super positive. We also, on the model front, had a bunch of other stuff. So I think last week we landed, or the week before, we landed this new Gemini computer use model. So if folks want to build computer use agents, which actually like go and navigate browsers and can like take actions with your permission on your behalf, we have a new model that lets you do that. We have a bunch of like scaffolding that lets you do that, which is really, really cool. And it's definitely a frontier use case. Like I don't think a lot of people are building computer use agents today, but I think it's becoming more and more like a part of how developers are thinking about like building an agent that like goes and does useful work for people. Along with that, there was a couple of new Flash and the Flashlight models, which are much better than the previous generation. So you can access those using Gemini Flash Latest and Gemini Flashlight Latest as model aliases. And then we showcased the vibe coding experience, which I'm selfishly super excited about. And then the other one is, and again, this is my sort of AI Studio centric view of the world, but we also just landed a bunch of like core foundational upgrades to the AI Studio experience. So we moved sort of, and it's funny how this sort of like matches the model's capabilities as well, but we sort of fused all of these different like playground experiences we had for live voice and for generative media and for like the mainline Gemini model all into a single chat playground experience. So that's live in AI Studio right now. We sort of upgraded the rate limit and quota experience because it's like such a common thing that developers are grappling with, like how do I get more capacity? Why am I hitting these rate limits, et cetera? Because the demand for these models is crazy. So just landed a fully revamped version of that experience and a bunch of other like core foundational improvements. So it's been a great week. Lots of fun launches, and yeah, even more to come still, which is exciting.
Out of all of these launches, which ones have you seen or like been surprised about the developer response to?
Yeah, I think I mentioned this earlier, but the grounding with Google Maps one was super surprising to me. I think the Maps API is actually like super widely used by developers. So it was like I think there's like an interesting element of like just how easy it is now to use with the Gemini API and being able to connect to it and have like AI integrated. But yeah, I think that API is just like super. It's like one of the most successful and common developer APIs. So I'm glad that people are enjoying it. And yeah, we're doing a bunch more like cool demos just to like keep the excitement going and showcase what's possible.
Yeah, and then looking beyond these immediate launches, what capability are you personally most excited about unlocking for developers in the next like 18, 24 months?
Yeah, 18 and 24 months is a long way off.
That is too far. Let's do less. 6 to 12 months?
Yeah, 6 to 12 months. I think, I'm spending a lot of my time on all this vibe coding stuff right now, just because it is like, it feels like such a fundamental unlock as a developer and as somebody who loves building stuff. So I'm personally hopeful and also excited about just like the progress on code. And I think it's also like a fundamental scaffolding that allows you to go, it like accelerates all other capabilities, because you can build more and you can sort of potentially actually get more out of the models if you have the right code set up. So that's something that I'm excited about. I think there's this concept of like the models becoming systems themselves over time. Historically, you would think of this model as a thing that would take a token and take a token in, and output a token. And now you sort of see the models like actually taking actions, like spinning up code sandboxes, pinging a bunch of APIs, going and, navigating a browser. And like actually the model starts to look like an agent out of the box, which I think is historically not something like folks have thought about agents and models as these decoupled concepts. And it feels like they're coming closer and closer together as the model capabilities keep improving and as the model providers like Google like add more baked into the model itself. So I think it's an interesting trend. I've talked to a bunch of startups that sort of a separate narrative of this like scaffolding frontier where like to make a bunch of stuff, like computer use is a good example. You actually do need a bunch of developer scaffolding. The model's not just doing that out of the box because you need a sandbox and all these other things. But like the model is eating a little bit of the scaffolding, and the scaffolding frontier continues to move forward to sort of these frontier use cases like live interactive voice and like computer use, et cetera. So it's interesting to follow that as somebody who, likes building stuff and agents and everything.
It's almost as if models which are coming out now already have like pre-built tools associated with them, and they're not just like language models.
Yeah, it is. I think they're agents. Like that is I don't know if we'll like ever stop calling them. Like that'll be an interesting exercise. Like, do we just what happens? Do we end up calling the models agents, or do the agents become models? I don't know, but it is interesting how agentic the whole infrastructure is becoming.
It's really interesting at how fast like the entire space is moving too.
Yeah, I mean, just from this conversation of like all of the launches that have happened, and this is, I think, one of the things that's most exciting. Like, again, personally for me inside of DeepMind, like the most exciting thing is the level of like model and research innovation that's happening. For my team as a product team that's like not responsible for building the models, we're sort of a deployment surface and a conduit to bring the models to the world. We're sort of like hanging on for dear life, like trying to make sure that we can both keep up with the pace of innovation, but also be like really thoughtful about like where we're investing and what the product experience is that we're building around these things. Because I think for a lot of and I feel like developers feel this, and I feel this in a lot of cases. Like there's just a lot of fatigue with how much stuff is coming out. So we're trying to be really thoughtful about like what do we really lean into? Where are the times where we make a bunch of noise, so that developers don't have to like do all this filtering of 100 million launches to find out the ones that are actually interesting to them potentially.
Yeah, for sure.
Thanks so much for all the wonderful demos and insights into the upcoming launches, Logan. It was also really great to have you on the podcast today. It would be great to have you back in the future as well.
Yeah, this was a ton of fun. Thank you both for listening to me yap to app the whole time. And yeah, this was a ton of fun. So hopefully we can do it again sometime.
Yeah, it was a pleasure to witness. Thanks so much, Logan.
Thanks.
And thanks to all of you for joining us on this vibe coding adventure in Google AI Studio. You can find all the resources and links we talked about, as well as ways to connect with us in the description box.
We hope this episode provided you with plenty of inspiration to try it out yourself and quickly build some AI agents of your own. You could even try out one of the startup ideas mentioned in this episode.
Until next time, I'm Molly Pettit.
And I'm Smita Cullen.
Powering down.